because we did have sleeper hits from Ayushmann Khurrana and Rajkumar Rao, and and we were so happy that there was a certain diversity of content. Vicky Kaushal. I feel that kind of post-pandemic is diluted again now. I mean, these guys are still very, very talented, but it seems that now the last few hits that you've seen have been star-driven, be it Shah Rukh or Ajay Devgan, Ranbir Kapoor. Again, it's been star-driven, but I think it's temporary. It's a given that in our country, Hindi films are the ones that actually give us the bulk of the box office. And then followed by, of course, regional films. We did fabulously well with regional films last year. Then comes English, and then comes other languages. And the true numbers do come from movies like Pathaan and Kisi Ka Bhai and these Indian mega stars.
Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Bijli, welcome to Bollywood Hungama. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My first question is, how big is anime in India? What kind of audience are we talking about?
And we're quite surprised. We started this division about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And we've been overwhelmed by the response.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan at all. I didn't even know the genre existed. I'm not that demographic at all, but I kind of picked it up on social media.
Okay.
That a lot of people were writing to us that when is this film coming, and there was Demon Slayer and Murugan Train.
Yes.
So I spoke to my team and I said, listen, this seems to be a content of interest, and can we do something about it? Can we approach the producers and represent these films in India? And we've got a phenomenal response.
Okay.
Absolutely phenomenal, yeah.
Right, when you say phenomenal response, are there any kind of numbers that you can explain the audience? What kind of, what kind of numbers do these films do? Anything?
I mean, for a Japanese anime film,
right?
We've done almost about 4 or 5 films we've released over the last 1 year, 1.5 years. And it's over $1 million GBOC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. When films like that from another country, a different genre does well here, what message does this send out to the exhibitors, to the distributors? Is there a good positive wave that, this is something more that we can add to our kitty?
Absolutely. And I think from our distribution company and our cinema company point of view, PVR INOX now, distribution division, PVR Picture INOX Pictures, have always been very open to buying and distributing different kinds of films. So our distribution company is not just distributing Indian films, be it Hindi language or regional language. English films, of course, we distribute. And also we've tried our hand in Korean films, French, Spanish, German, because we just feel that content is universal. And you never know what kind of content resonates with the audiences.
Right.
And what kind of content resonates with any audiences, any part of the world.
Right.
And the fact that the Japanese anime films have resonated with audiences in India is just proof that content has to be good, it has to be relevant, and it can bring in audiences to the cinemas regardless of what language it is in.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Same happened, when you all screened BTS and things like that.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by the reaction?
Yes, and there's so much chatter and there's so much belief right now that only big screen extravaganzas are working, be it a Pathaan or an Avatar, or there's going to be films like Jawan coming up now, or Furious X coming up now, which are big screen IMAX films. But right in the middle, a BTS comes in, or an anime film comes in, which is not really a big screen spectacle, but brings in the audiences, and that's so encouraging. That it's not that one kind of film can do well, but there are multiple kind of films can do well.
Right.
But
I think what they do mean is smaller Hindi movies, which could be, they call it nowadays OTT watch hai ye. That's what they mean when they say ki some kind of extravaganza, celebration kind of films do well?
I feel personally that content has to be good.
Right.
And again, if you go look at last year's hits, like even Drishyam 2 was not a big screen extravaganza. No songs, no, glitz and glamour, or Kashmir Files, or all of these kind of films. But they did really well.
They did well.
So it's just the content that resonates.
That's so true. So Suzume is releasing. You know, your director is a huge name. He has a following of his own. What are you expecting? What did it take for this film to come to your theaters?
Again, once again, we've in PVR Pictures division, our distribution division, since we launched the anime division, we've been very proactive about releasing anime films, which are, most of them which are released in Japan, and especially the ones that do well in Japan are the ones that we look for and bring them to India. And he's such a celebrated director. He's done such great work, and it was such a privilege to be able to ask him to come to India and share his experiences with the Indian audiences and his fans. And we all know in the film business that when you have talent coming to promote films, it just makes our job as a distributor and an exhibitor slightly easier, because there's so much adulation for these people. And that interaction with these people and the talent obviously magnifies the importance of the film, and it reaches a wider audience. So we're obviously hoping that with this visit, not only can he connect with his fans and his fans can connect with him, but it also has a multiple effect on the popularity of the film.
Getting him is a huge draw. Did he agree immediately? Like, because, you all could have released this quietly and still it would have an audience, I think. But getting him is like a festival for his fans. Did he agree immediately?
I mean, not immediately, but I think it was very gracious of him to actually agree to come here. And I do feel that, like us, that how we were surprised by the response of anime films here, even he must have been so happy and surprised to see a fan base in a place like India.
You have 1680 screens. You have 389 cinemas. How many cinemas will this release in? That will give us an idea of the audience that there is.
I think we're doing about 500 to 600 screens across the country.
That's quite amazing.
And it's amazing that how we are also releasing anime films in interiors. It's not a metro phenomena at all.
That's interesting.
There are people write to us that when they get to know that this is releasing on the 21st of April, that hey, I hope it's coming to Prayagraj, I hope it's coming to Kota, I hope it's coming to, all these small towns and centers where there's a huge fan following for anime films.
Does that surprise you? Like, where people, their culture is different, their language is different, or do you see Japanese culture, Korean culture growing in India slightly, like, the interest and the love for it?
I'm very surprised and happy. And I just feel that, some of us actually, we've been in this business for 25 years, and sometimes we are wearing blinkers and doing the same thing and hoping for the same results. But we don't realize that people and demographics have changed dramatically over the years. Their tastes have changed dramatically over the years. And it is very important for not just our industry, but I think for any industry to realize that the millennials and Gen Zs and what have you, their taste has changed so dramatically, and we have to keep up with their taste. And it actually changes more dramatically than what our tastes were. We still consume the same things for 10, 12, 15 years. I remember growing up as a child. But here, the taste changes even faster. And then, therefore, we need to be on top of that change.
Is that a challenge?
It's not if you keep your eye on the ball. It's not if you actually keep a track on what customers want. And you need to know what your customers want.
After all this, at the end of the day, do you as as someone who owns the Maximum Cinemas in India and multiplexes, you look forward, business-wise, you look forward to a Kisi Ka Bhai Kisi Ki Jaan and a Pathaan. Is that true?
Of course, yes, because I think it's a given that in our country, Hindi films are the ones that actually give us the bulk of the box office. And then followed by, of course, regional films. We did fabulously well with regional films last year. Then comes English, and then comes other languages. And the true numbers do come from movies like Pathaan and Kisi Ka Bhai and these Indian mega stars.
Right.
The true numbers actually come from them. So of course our tentpoles will always remain movies from the Khans or Hrithik or Ranveer and all these superstars. But at the same time, we get excited about every film because as we never know what might work. What we bet on may work, may not work. And what we feel may not work actually ends up being a surprise hit for us.
Right.
So we have to be optimistic about every film.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another question is, all the fans of, say, an anime like that will be the younger audience, I suppose. And then, they'll be either in college or school or they'll be in their first jobs. This is what I guess. Their spending power is much less.
Yeah.
What they would say is that, ticket price, it all boils down to, again, oh, the ticket prices are expensive. Going to a cinema is an expensive experience. What would you like to say to them?
I would just like to say, honestly speaking, because, and this is something which I'm not manipulating because we're a listed company and our numbers are there. They are printed and published in public domain. And we've actually ended last financial year at a ticket price of 240 overall.
Okay.
So a blended ticket price of 240 is not a high price, no matter how you slice or dice it, and I think that's something which you would probably agree with as well, and people will agree. I think the perception is stronger than the reality.
Okay.
Because a 240 basically means less than $2.50.
Right.
Whereas, in America and all these places is $10 plus.
Right.
So, and having said that, we do keep prices for movies like this lower as well. So we have multiple pricing policy. And for films like these, which are drawing a certain demographic, the price levels are much lower.
Right, that's great to know that 240 is, I think, for any audience is a price they would like to pay. But then I think what they mean is coming to a theater, buying popcorn for $400, paying parking. These are the things that, do you think a younger audience, you would like to give them some kind of assurance that this is the most affordable it can be?
Yeah, no. So we do a lot of promotions.
Yeah.
It's not like like any other industry, and we are also realize that in our industry to draw people, we can't be rigid about our promotions and pricing. We have to be flexible, and we have to basically slice and dice the demographics and actually give them options which are amenable to them. And we do have a lot of promotions like buy one, get one free, buy a ticket, get a combo free. Right. So there's a lot of promotions out there, with banks and with other brands and all the rest of it. And I think that is the reason why our blended ATP over last year was 240 because there were lots of promotions that were used.
Right.
And therefore it came down.
Right.
Yeah, so I would sort of urge that it's something which one needs to, it's a price discovery, like even when you book an airline ticket, for example, you go through various options and then pick up something which is palatable to you and where you have promotions. So here also there's a process of discovery, and you do find great deals in our business too. Yeah.
Right. Till about 4-5 years ago, you all had the monopoly of all the content. Then came OTT, but we did see that a lot of producers stood by you and said we will release in the theaters only. One is that, did you like the gesture that some of them really stood by you, and some who didn't? Do you understand their plight?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we're joined at the hip.
Okay.
We're one big family, and I think neither of us can do without each other. There are major suppliers, and they do such great work, and what they do is incredible to be able to come up with stories and films. I mean, we've produced 7-8 films in the past, and we know what it's like, and we couldn't hack it. I think totally appreciate that a lot of the studio, especially YRF, decided to not go to OTT and stand by and be the champions of theatrical business. And there are lots of those believers internationally as well, be it Steven Spielberg or Tom Cruise, or so many people who are Avatar again, James Cameron, who just believe in the big screen. And I understand while the others had to go straight because those were tough times. Those were 2 years of closure. and they had no opportunity. The cinemas were closed, so they had no option but to sell their films on OTT. But I think we're back now, and I think the water has found its level.
Yes.
And this is something which will continue. There will be films that will get made for the big screen because you can't watch them on a small screen. And there will be films that will come straight to the small screen because of various factors. Yeah.
Right. My last question is, is the Indian market, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Indian market still about the top 5 lead stars, or have things changed? You were the best person to explain.
I think pre-pandemic things had changed.
Okay.
Because we did have sleeper hits from Ayushmann Khurrana and Rajkumar Rao, and and we were so happy that there was a certain diversity of content. Vicky Kaushal. I feel that kind of post-pandemic is diluted again now. I mean, these guys are still very, very talented, but it seems that now the last few hits that you've seen have been star-driven, be it Shah Rukh or Ajay Devgan, Ranbir Kapoor. Again, it's been star-driven, but I think it's temporary because I just feel that this is such a strong industry. It's a 100-year-old industry, and every industry goes through ups and downs, especially in the creative industry. And it's only a matter of time that there is a realignment of what's going on, what to make and what to produce. And the same thing happened in the 80s when I was growing up, and I just couldn't bear to watch the films that were coming out. The titles only used to scare me. And then suddenly there's a new wave with Farhan Akhtar and all these filmmakers that came that completely changed the face of the content, and that's bound to happen again.
Right. Mr. Bijli, you have changed the way we watch films. It's a truly enriching experience, inclusive experience, and so when we go and watch at your cinemas. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thank you.